Hello there. So I don't know how well this is going to record. I guess you're just going to see my home screen and a bunch of stuff like that. So basically, the purpose of this video is fairly simple. Now, I've noticed there's not a lot of videos as far as things. Yes, you can see the capacity of my trailer. Of people delving in the code for things other than, for example, yes, this trailer, or maybe you modify a harvester. I'll show you that real quick as well. But just to make it easier, obviously. So right here we have, this is a modified, uh, like a mod. You go into the code. And the way you do that, and I'm just going to show this real quick. If anyone wants me to make a video, I may or may not. I'm not very good at keeping up on things. I'm going to be completely fucking honest. But basically, for example, I want to do this. I open this. Yes. Open it WinRAR. Obviously hit close. I don't pay for it personally. And you go in and say, let's just say this item right here. This item right here, this PNG was a one of the i3Ds, or one of, obviously you're more working with the XMLs. i3Ds are more if you're doing the 3D modeling with where you at? The Farming Sim Giants editor. And that's an i3D logo, obviously. You're working with that. That's how you know you're working with that. If you're finding that, say that PNG is an XML, you drag it right on the desktop. You open it up in WinRAR, drag it out right on the desktop just like this. You'll see a little border. The border is basically what it's showing under. So if I put that, it's underneath Mortal Kombat, for example. I'm going to delete that, obviously, because I don't need to mess with that right now. And you go to Notepad++, and the reason I recommend that instead of Notepad normal is because Notepad, a lot of people just say it's a lot easier. Generally it is, yes. But also the formatting on Notepad just has it more horizontal in Notepad++. Not only that, but if you also can go into your settings, which I can also show very quickly, you want to go into your settings, and it's kind of hard to get to sometimes, depending. I'm on Windows 11, Windows 10 is a lot easier. But generally the same things you want to select. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it's apps, default apps, and it's in the complex areas of this, but basically you want to go into that section, choose default apps by types. And you can choose, for example, you have to find an XML, or you want to find a zip, or whatever it may be, and you can choose Notepad++, which, if you're installing the right one, looks like this. It's a little image of the gecko, and not the chameleon. And the way you modify a trailer or any other mod, specifically trailers in this case, I also have a harvester right here, is this stuff up here doesn't matter. Anything in black text or dark blue text, it does not matter. If it's a mod that's in different colors, generally what you're looking for, you can modify mass. For example, a tractor is tipping over way too often. Don't quintuple or multiply the weight by like 10 times, because that can hurt the suspension, cause the vehicle to be unmovable. And if you modify the horsepower too much in, say, a large truck, like the MAN or the Lizard Phoenix, for example, it also has the same effect. Generally just double the weight or 1.5 times, and it should prevent them from falling over. For a trailer, you'd modify capacity right here. Generally speaking, it's just below animations, lights. I always look for lights, go past that. Fill unit configuration. That's the area you're looking for. You're looking for fill unit. Fill volume is similar, but that's more towards all this stuff like the angle and what it looks like, And if you want to, you can, instead of putting in whatever it says, like, for example, it's an auger wagon or it's a trailer, put bulk instead. If it says something else under the category of fill type categories equals, quote, whatever it is, end quote. Put bulk in there instead. It can basically fill anything at that point. I'm not 100% sure if it works. I haven't tested it myself, but I have heard from other creators that it does work. And you want to go to the part that says capacity. And the part right here that I have, which is update mass equals capital, well, the M is capital, equals false, in quotes. You want to add that at the end, just after this. Some harvesters and some vehicles that hold things in FS22 don't always have this effect if they have this format. sometimes a little bit finicky. So if you can't get it to work here, you can also try it after this, or just space it or whatever. You just got to mess around a little bit. But it should work if you put it right after the capacity equals. You just put update, no spaces, update, capital M for the mass, equals, quote, false, end quote. Put a space before and a space after, especially if it's formatted like this. With harvesters, it's very similar. Any other tractor is the same thing, minus, of course, the fill. You want to go past all this stuff. In FS19, it's the same exact way. The only difference is FS22 has a lot more information. And I mean a lot more. Like, all of this. I will show you a couple things. If you see i3D mapping, you've gone too far. Oh, if you see dashboard, you've gone too far. Animations, gone too far. There are some things you can actually modify in here in animations that are very beneficial. If you can find it, which is animation speed. This is for the Combine specifically. But if you do the animation speed scale, which is anim speed scale, what that basically does is say that were to be the part that opens up the top of the harvester. If you put that as 1, that's the normal speed. You can put that as any number higher or lower than 1. If you put it lower, it folds out slower, obviously. If you put it up higher, for example, I put my Rubicon 9000 to about 2. It folds out its partitions twice as fast altogether. You can also, if you're good enough, I probably am not right now because I'm not as familiar with FS22 as FS19. You can also do the same with each specific part. I did that with my Rubicon 9000 on FS19. But the part you're looking for, if you want to modify empty speed, for example, you may be thinking is right below the fill volume. That's not fill volume, by the way. It's actually a lot further down. See, this is the capacity. For the fill unit, this is the area. You want to go to fill unit, combine, capacity. That's how you make it so it holds more, basically. And you have fill types and all this. That's the gas. If you see anything that around like after that says capacity, it's probably the gasoline or diesel. And you generally don't mess with that. It doesn't, unless you wanted to like burn your gas a lot slower. You don't necessarily need it, and most people don't need to mess with that too much because it's not super important. Understandable. But if you keep going down, I do not remember exactly how far down it is, but it's not close, I'll say that. Most harvesters are quite a bit farther. See, I did the speed scale on this part, a little bit faster because that is turning on and it can be a bit slow. But you go quite a bit down, and it should have empty speed is what you're looking for. And yes, they do hide it sometimes. There it is. Okay, so empty speed, you are looking for dischargeable, discharge node, node equals discharge node. And right after that should be empty speed. If it's not right after that, you just look for empty speed equals, quote, number, quote. I just added a bunch of zeros because this harvester is my main harvester, and, that's just my main harvester I use in a lot of maps. The other thing that I don't see anyone covering at all, well, the main thing that I don't, I see people covering harvesters, tractors, and all of that. But I don't see this. And yes, I'll get back to torque and horsepower and all that. But the main thing that I wanted to go over with this video real quick is, you see how I've selected Beehive, palette, and all that stuff. I'll open up in files where that is just to show you. You probably won't be able to find it very easily. It's actually under Lizard. Basically, instead of going to vehicles, you can go to vehicles. That's nice. It has basically every vehicle, but you just need to make sure you know the model and make of the vehicle, especially in FS22 because some of them, unlike the selling stations, the vehicles do not have a picture. And you want to go to placeables. You want to go to Lizard for most of them. Anything that's like a placeable station, you modify here. And for example, I have the grain mill right here. That would be the grain mill on this list. Selling points. that's a placeable selling point. But there's also a secondary grain mill, which is just revolving around the US map or the EU map, depending on what you use. And yes, you do have to modify them separately, just as a heads up. And they are separate, each one of them. So even if it has the same name, it's not the same. I did test it out by going into the code and making sure, because, I modify everything just to make sure. And they were not the same values. So basically, go there, and if you want to go to select the one I have, here's the beehives right here. And each one of these levels are obviously just the bigger ones, and you have the pallet spawner. You don't need to modify the pallet spawner. That doesn't really have anything. But if you want to go to, let me open up the beehive, level 5, for example. Okay, so the beehive, for example, obviously since it's a base game one, dark blue and black, you don't need to modify at all. Orange, you do need to watch just to make sure you're looking for the right values. Most of the values you don't need to worry about. But, as you see, my right around here, my liters of honey per day. Liters honey per day. I have the 25,000. Now, normally that is, frick, 5250 or something like that. So it's a fair amount. You get, no, it's 425. So you get about 425 or 525, whatever it is, per day. And that is obviously, you can sleep to that day, and you have that much honey is produced. The action radius I did not modify purely because of the fact that the action radius doesn't matter, because when you have a beehive, obviously you have a pallet spawner. So on my personal understanding, it won't really have that much of an effect, and you don't need to modify. What you would be modifying, if you wanted it to be slower, lower the number. If you wanted it to be more, raise it up. Hell, if I really wanted to, I could just place down 100 pallet spawning locations, the beehive pallet spawners, and just make this like 2.5 million. But I'm not good with front lifters, front loaders, telehandlers, or forklifts, to be completely honest. And that is how you would make it so, for example, something like a beehive would spawn more. I'm just going to show this, for example, on Tailor Shop. Now, the reason I show the Tailor Shop is doesn't like the grain mill or anything like that. The grain mill is very self-explanatory. Raisin Factory and everything else is all the same for the most part. The main thing you're looking for in here is you want to go for the production point, this little section right here, production point, productions, and production. And you want to go down to inputs and outputs. And what you want to do, if you want to make more, you can modify either one of these values. If I wanted to have this as 1 instead of 2, I could put that as 1. So it takes it less to make the same. Or if you want to use more to make, if you want to use the same you would normally make to make more. It depends on what you want to do. If you just want to make the same, you don't have to modify this at all. It's up to you. But, however, if you want to use the less but still make more, you can. Or if you want to make more with the same amount you normally would put in, you go. You can also modify cycles per hour. And basically what that is the same thing as beehives. Think of it as you're making them this many times per hour. Making 10 clothes out of 2 fabric 45 times an hour. But it costs you this much every hour it's active. That's about 10. You can lower that. I don't want to modify that because I'm not 100% sure what it means, but I would probably most likely understand it that it either costs you the in-game currency, 10 per hour, to keep it in productivity, or it could also mitigate this. So my recommendation is lower it and see what it does. Because most likely it's just a cash reduction, $10 per hour, for example, or 10 euros per hour, whatever you use. And you can also, of course, modify capacity. I wouldn't go too much crazier on the actual pallets of items. Yes, I understand clothes are pallets, but I'm saying don't go higher than something like 300, 200, or 150,000, whatever you're comfortable transporting. And the reason I say that is because it comes on pallets. And obviously, some items that come on pallets or hold, for example, bale. if you make the value too high and you start filling it more than it normally does in the base game, especially, for example, if you were to modify a bale trailer and say it normally holds 10, but you tell it to hold 11, you crash your game if you hit that 11. I've tried a few times, and yes, that's what it does. But with pallets, it can go in the ground, which means you're really not benefiting much from making it hold too many more. And I don't remember exactly how many are in every pallet, but that's basically the premise. So yeah, that's basically how this stuff works. That's how the production works, and yeah, simple as that. There's another thing I can as well show you. That's fairly simple. There's actually two things to show you as well. Now, this is FS22 and this is FS22 apparently as well. Oh, fill types and fruit types. Okay, so fruit types is very simple to understand. Very, very simple. It looks complex as hell, trust me. I am not very smart. I'm not going to say that word because YouTube, but I'm not very smart sometimes. But I'm observant enough to understand. Now, you probably noticed 24,000. Isn't that normally like 2.4 million or something? Yes, it is. In FS22, there isn't a fast speed for growing. But there's also a glitch that I don't know if it's still present that can stop growth, and you have to sleep over and over. And I swear, do not. If you don't know what seasonal is, don't put it to paused. Make sure it's set to no if you don't want seasonal growth. Because paused will just make it so things stop growing. I did that quite a few times, got upset with myself because I didn't know what was going on. And obviously, don't, just make sure it's set to no. And basically, growth state time does not mean it grows within that time. It goes through the different cycles. For example, wheat right here, it grows perfectly on the 6th and 7th, it's ready to harvest. On the 8th, it withers. How do I know this? FS19 hacking. What do you think? So generally speaking, I decreased it to 24,000 because of its being, a lot slower in FS22. More realistic, of course. And generally speaking, most crops take at least 2 to 5 months to grow, and with this setting, they generally only take about a month to 4 months. It still takes quite a bit of time, obviously, you're not just going to sit there and be sowing the field and, it just pops up like FS19. If this was 24,000, it literally grows as you're planting it, which is actually pretty cool. The other thing you want to modify, though, other than that, if you want it to harvest more, I would not, and I'm being flat serious, don't modify this over 10. Unless you're willing to modify the suspension of your harvester to being taller, for example, or bigger wheels that allow for more to come in, don't modify this over 15 probably. Because I did it at 32. My harvester couldn't drive, and it was going 30 miles per hour. That's just a little example for you. So that's liters per square meter. And basically what this is right here, I'll tell you this as well. So this number has this number subtracted from it. So I have 100,000 liters per square meter of wheat that is harvested when my harvester goes through it. And yes, don't use this on the mod for realistic harvester that basically is like, oh, you have this many Newton meters of force or whatever. And this number has this number subtracted from it. So every 100,000 liters per square meter of wheat that's harvested, I have 10.68 liters per square meter of straw taken from that and put on the ground. Just as a heads up. And that's how you modify that. You just basically make this number bigger or smaller. You can also modify this. This is seed usage per square meter. Basically what this does is if you don't want it to use seed at all for this plant, I could make this 0.0. Make sure it's 0.0 or just make it 0. It prefers it to be 0.0 rather than 0 in most cases. Things like this, that's a degree. Of course, that can be 0. But this is an integer. This is a flat number. So generally it likes that. I like using seed because I don't want to feel burnt out very quickly. There's also these things, which is cut state, max harvesting growth state, min harvesting growth state. So this in FS19 is 7 to 8, and FS22 it is 8 to 8, and you can the cut state and all this. You can modify all of these so that way it grows much faster if you want. You can have it harvestable in growth state 1 to growth state 8, because there's 8 for this plant, for example. So it's just an example you can do. Or you could have it all the way to growth state 10, since there are 10 states for this until it is fully you need to remove this plant, plow the field. Pretty sure it's 9, but either way, you can do that as well. So it never withers, even with withering on, because you can't turn it off in FS22, for example. But in FS19 you can. Or you could just harvest it as soon as you plant it and just wait a month and it's on the first field, done, ready to harvest. You could do that if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it because if you modify these things too much from experience, you burn yourself out very quick. The other thing you can do is fill types. Now, fill types is very complex. I haven't fully figured it out myself, but there's an easy way of doing this. Now, the main thing that I would say you modify if you're not like, oh, I don't want to get too heavily into this and test this, this, and this, because it can be very annoying. FS19 made it a little bit easier, but it's complicated. The only thing you really need to modify in this folder, if, for example, you don't want to have to be like, oh, well, I want to put an update mass equals, quote, false, end quote. You can also make it so your trailers just hold maybe triple or 5 times at most. And you can make mass per liter equals, quote, whatever it is, to 0.1, 0.01, or as low as you want. And basically, the lower you have it, the less it weighs, essentially. And you can make it so you can carry as much as you'd like. And on top of that, that also does allow for you to modify things like strawberry, chocolate, breads, furniture, round bales, and all these other bales. I would not recommend modifying price per liter unless you have done a little bit of testing on plants themselves. For example, if I go up to wheat. I have modified wheat to be that number right there. Now, basically what this does is, originally, it's 10 times this around. So I've made it so when I buy it from a fill station, I am making more to sell it than I have buying it, but only a small amount. It seems exponential. It's not a linear value. I'll say that. I don't know what I modified. I'll just save all. So let's just go back to torque real quick, and there was one other thing I will show you after that. Now, as far as torque goes, it's very simple to understand. Horsepower, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you that right now. There are calculators you can get, so if you want a specific horsepower amount, you can do that. There's a YouTuber, I do not remember his name. If I do find it, I will link it in the description. Don't hold me on that. I'm not very good at finding these videos. That's why I'm making this kind of thing. But there's a calculator you can use to modify, oh, I want 1700 horsepower instead of 780, for example. Now, torque scale is the only thing you need to modify as far as actual power. As far as this is brake force. No, that is not the new Super League that basically jumps in front of cars and says, use your brakes. Sorry for the shitty joke, had to. Basically what this does is before update, the John Deere 1100 series was very slow at braking. So it was around a 5 brake force as far as I could understand from just using them. I didn't modify them myself. What you generally want for a harvester is about a 10 to a 12 if you really wanted to brake like that. Not super quick, but enough on a dime to where you can turn around a lot easier, but it's not like cheating, But don't turn it too high. If you have it at like 150, that helps a lot. It does, but you can also have in some vehicles, like for example in FS19, certain case tractors put at a very high torque scale and a very high braking force, but they'd stay at 8 miles per hour, or 3 miles per hour, or 5 miles per hour, and they wouldn't slow down until you hit a wall. So just keep that in mind. If you modify these things too much, you give it way too much power, or you give it way too much brake force, it won't stop completely, and you'll have to hit a wall or something heavy. So, I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could just make a harvester or a truck really freaking heavy and just carry it somewhere and then use it as like, oh, my tractor won't stop, hit it. But personally, just don't modify it too much, man. It's fun making a harvester drift and all, in like 90 kilometers or miles per hour, whatever you prefer. They're not the same. They're both fun, but you know, within reason. I do double generally nowadays. Um, I'd show you my FS19 stuff, but yeah, you don't need to see that. I was just messing around in that. So there's that. See. Now, if I go over to, excuse me, if I go over to, where the heck? My brain is taking a massive dump. That is not correct. Field, drown, environment, collectibles, grades, textures, data. Yeah, definitely not data. Okay, so basically you can modify anything. This is the actual folder you want to go. So basically if you want to modify things for these guys, this is maps, fruit types, and map fill types. Now, the fruit types are you want to modify how fast they grow, how much you get from them growing, etc. Fill types, simple stuff like how much does it weigh essentially and how much can you sell and buy it for. The other thing you can modify, for example, now I will put this in an example very simply. That is not the right folder. That is the right folder. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to show is placeables. Yes, I'm going back into placeables. What's your problem, man? Now, if you want to go over to, I would assume Lizard. Now, say you want to go to a silo. Let me just go to a silo. Doesn't matter which one. Let's go to the large one, for example. Now, I haven't modified this at all because I usually don't use them. I actually use the multi-fill station and the multi-fill silo. Multi-grain. Same thing to me personally. Now, let's see. Do I see this in here? Do I see this in here? Shiz. I might have to pull that other one up. Alright, hold on one moment. I don't know if I've still linked onto my home screen that or not. Okay, I do not. So, let me just do this real quick then, and I will show you an example of how to modify a silo to fill faster. And it shouldn't take too long. Yes, I have a lot of folders. I have an issue. It's called Brain. I did just try and click on music. Oh, dang it. And I'm actually going to show you on probably the multi-fruit buying station. And the reason that is because I don't actually have the silo installed on my PC. It's on my Xbox. I'm waiting to upgrade my PC currently. Now, if you go to this, I'm not going to modify anything here. As you can see, this is an example of a mod just, either not being in your native language or, for example, being different colors. And all you really want to focus on here is obviously not this. If you see this as a mod description, okay? A mod description. Sometimes I'll also say this. If you're modifying a game with you, make sure you publish it, fill out every single bit of information, and when you go there, you go to the mod description, and you need to have a certain line. You can go to, I think it's Farmer Cop or DJ Goham, Ogham. Go to his chat, say DJ Ogham. But yeah, you have to add in a line that specifically says allow multiplayer. I'm pretty sure it's DJ Goham though. Now, if you go to these multi-fill station, let's see. Sorry, it's been quite a while, and it is late at night, and I have to wake up early in the morning. Sorry, it's the truth. Jeez, man, what the heck's going on, eh? About ready to shoot my goddamn Cheerios. Hey, it's an EDS. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Store. Okay then. What the hell is that? What the hell? Alright, never mind. I'm just gonna go to the FS19 one. It's the same thing, it's just. You're gonna be talking to Cthulhu, apparently. Alright, let's go to this guy. Minimize you. No, thank you. Okay. Now, let's go to this guy. Let's go to the gold one. So we have the gold one. And it's the same thing on silo, it's just different location. So basically you go into, say this is just a silo, and you're going down and you're looking for filling speed. Just like on the harvester, you're looking for empty speed. However, on a silo or a filling station like this, you would be looking for filling speed. If I could find that dang thing, that would be fantabulous. Apparently I have failed yet again. I certainly hope not. That would be hilarious, though. I think I did. Oh, damn it. Either that or I'm blind. I am blind, though. So it ain't against me. And this is also how you can modify price scale. I haven't messed with it too much, so I won't say specifically what it is because I don't 100% understand it. But yes, generally speaking, you are looking for liters filled per second, fill speed, something like that. Which apparently my brain isn't that define it. Let me try this one instead. Station dock. Okay then. Motherfucking. Where are you? Do not make me shit in your socks. No. Crap, dude. Yeah, I literally. This video is just dragging out. Like, what? Why is this guy so stupid? I don't know. I can't find it. God dang it. You know what? Fine. I'm just gonna pull up a silo if I can find one. But either way, yeah. There is actually a way of doing it. You just have to find the right ones, and apparently, I haven't found them yet. You can most likely, there are also ones. I'll just show this instead since I'm not having very much luck. Let's see if I can find one of the stations that does have it. Because some of the stations, for example, Grain Mill, I'm pretty sure. Of course, the Grain Mill is the one that does not have it. Brain. Sugar. Okay, so sugar. So this is fill liters per second. That's basically what you would be looking for. So if you find the silos that can empty out, or if you find a multi-fill station, for example, I have that, you should be able to. I have in the past. I'm not sure which specific file it was. Basically, you're looking for that. And you increase the amount just like you would normally, or decrease the amount. Same thing. So yeah, that's how you modify files, and yeah. I swear I know what I'm doing. No, I'm not drunk. I'm just stupid. Have a good day. Jesus.